Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, let us discuss in detail about glycolysis. This glycolysis is also called as EMP. EMP stands for Embden-Meyerhof pathway. Embden and Meyer were two biochemists. Because of their contribution to this pathway, as an honor, this pathway is also called as Embden-Meyerhof pathway. So if you look into the term glycolysis, it is a Greek word. Lysis means breakdown, whereas glucose, which is a carbohydrate, which is a sugar sweet in taste. So here we are going to see how this carbohydrate glucose is broken down in a series of steps, finally giving rise to an end product. So what happens when this glucose is broken down? We are going to get energy, right? It is a universal pathway that takes place in all the cells of a living organism. Like if you take a microorganism, we can see this pathway. If we consider a human being, we can see this pathway. If you inoculate a microorganism into a media where you are going to provide a nutrient, right? If you provide a carbohydrate source, what happens? That carbohydrate will be utilized by the bacteria. It will be broken down and it is going to derive the energy from it. Similarly, in case of human beings, for suppose if we feel very low, we take a glucose solution. Why? Because that glucose is a sugar, it is a carbohydrate. It will be easily absorbed by our body. So if we take a glucose solution, we get instant energy. Why? Because if this glucose is broken down, it is going to give rise to an energy in the form of ATP. Let us see how this ATP is formed with the breakdown of glucose. Before we talk about the glycolysis, first you should know about the metabolism. So what is meant by this metabolism? We all know that several hundreds of reactions that take place within a living cell simultaneously in a well organized manner. The series of chemical reactions that take place within a living organism is referred to as a metabolism. During this metabolism, there will be an involvement of several enzymes, and with the action of those enzymes, there will be a formation of specific products. So, the term metabolite refers to a substrate or an intermediate or a product that is formed during the metabolic reactions. Hope you are clear with the metabolism and the metabolite. Metabolism is nothing but a chemical reactions that take place within a living organism, and that chemical reactions are catalyzed by a specific enzymes. With the action of those enzymes, there will be a formation of specific products. They could be a substrate, intermediate or a product, and they are referred to as metabolite. And this metabolism is broadly classified into two categories. That is catabolism and the other one is anabolism. Catabolism is nothing but a degradative process. So here there will be a breakdown of complex molecules into a simpler ones with the release of energy. Whereas coming to the anabolism, it is a biosynthetic reaction that generally involves the formation of complex molecules from simpler precursors. Hope you are clear with the catabolism and the anabolism. Remember that catabolism is nothing but the breakdown of complex molecules into simple ones with the release of energy. Whereas coming to the anabolism, the formation of complex molecules from the simple precursors is nothing but anabolism. Coming back to the process of glycolysis, as I already told you that it is a universal pathway and it takes place in all the living organisms, right? And if we want to define glycolysis, we can simply say that it involves a series of steps where the glucose is converted to an end product of pyruvate or lactate with the production of ATP. So this is the energy, right? ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So that is the reason I told you when the glucose is broken down, we are going to get energy in the form of ATP. So what are the end products here? Pyruvate or lactate. This glycolysis can be operated both under aerobic conditions and anaerobic conditions. that is in presence of oxygen and in absence of oxygen. We all know that certain microorganisms are aerobic, certain microorganisms are anaerobic. That means few microorganisms strictly require oxygen for their survival, whereas certain microorganisms doesn't require any oxygen for their survival. We call them as anaerobic. And this glycolysis pathway can operate under both the conditions, that is under both aerobic and anaerobic conditions. If the pathway takes place under aerobic conditions, the glucose will be converted to pyruvate. So here the pyruvate will be the end product under aerobic conditions, whereas lactate will be the end product under the anaerobic conditions. And the pyruvate which is formed from glucose during the aerobic conditions will be again oxidized to form carbon dioxide and a water molecule. As I told you earlier that there is a need of certain enzymes to carry out this pathway, right? And those enzymes are present in the cytosomal fraction of a cell. Now let us discuss about the reactions of glycolysis. Coming to the reactions of glycolysis, see, observe the picture carefully here. The first step is the conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. So there will be addition of phosphate group at the 6th position. So the glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate by the action of enzyme hexokinase or glucokinase, and it is an irreversible reaction. See, observe the difference carefully. This indicates a reversible reaction. This indicates an irreversible reaction. So irreversible reaction in the sense this glucose 6-phosphate cannot be converted back to glucose, but here the glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate and it is an irreversible reaction. If you look into the next step, it is a reversible reaction. Why? Because the glucose 6-phosphate can be converted to fructose 6-phosphate and this fructose 6-phosphate can be converted back to the glucose 6-phosphate. So we represent it with this arrow. That indicates that this reaction is an reversible reaction. Okay. So in the first step, the glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate by the action of enzyme glucokinase or hexokinase, whereas this so formed glucose 6-phosphate is again converted to fructose 6-phosphate by an isomerization step. So this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme called phosphohexose isomerase, right? I told you earlier that there is an involvement of certain enzymes which will carry out this series of steps where the glucose is broken down and it is going to give rise to an end product of pyruvate. So that is why we are calling it as glycolysis. Lysis means breakdown, right? Here the glucose is broken down by a series of steps with the involvement or with the formation of certain intermediates. And here the final end product is the pyruvate which is formed from a glucose. Clear? This fructose 6-phosphate is again converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate by the action of the enzyme phosphofructokinase. Here again there is a utilization of energy because we are transferring the phosphate group, right? Here if you observe the first step, we are transferring the phosphate group. So this glucose is converted to glucose 6-phosphate. For that we need energy. We are utilizing the ATP here. Again, for the conversion of this fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, again we are transferring another phosphate molecule here to this fructose 6-phosphate compound to form a fructose 1,6-bisphosphate molecule. Again we need some energy. So this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme called phosphofructokinase. And now after the formation of this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, it is a 6-carbon compound, right? By the action of the enzyme aldolase, this 6-carbon compound is split into two 3-carbon compounds. So this is one 3-carbon compound and this is one 3-carbon compound, right? So this 6-carbon compound is split into two compounds each with 3 carbons. That is dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Observe the picture carefully. Again, this is a reversible reaction. This glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate by the action of the enzyme phosphotriose isomerase. Now again in the next step, this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is a 3-carbon compound, is converted to a compound of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate by the action of the enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. It is a dehydrogenation step. Okay, this step is very important. Why? Because it involves the formation of high energy compound, that is 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, and this step also involves the formation of NADH plus H plus. Later in the next step, by the action of the enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase, this so formed 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate, and this reaction requires magnesium or manganese as a cofactor. Observe here carefully. This reaction involves the synthesis of ATP. This so formed 3-phosphoglycerate is again converted to 2-phosphoglycerate by the action of the enzyme phosphoglycerate mutase, and it is again a isomerization reaction. After the formation of 2-phosphoglycerate from 3-phosphoglycerate, now this 2-phosphoglycerate is again converted to phosphoenol pyruvate by the action of an enzyme called enolase with the removal of water molecule, and as well as this reaction also requires Mg2 plus as a cofactor. And finally, this enzyme pyruvate kinase catalyzes the transfer of high energy phosphate group from this phosphoenol pyruvate to ADP, leading to the synthesis of ATP. So what is the final step of glycolysis? There will be a synthesis of pyruvate. So here if you observe the picture, the glucose is broken down by a series of steps with the help of these enzymes which are present in the cytosomal fraction of a cell, and these are the intermediates that are formed during the pathway. So what is the final product of the pathway? Pyruvate is the final product that is formed with the breakdown of the glucose. Coming to the energy yield, under aerobic conditions there will be a release of 8 ATP molecules, whereas under anaerobic conditions there will be a release of 2 ATP molecules. That means under anaerobic conditions, one glucose molecule will give rise to 2 ATP molecules. See here, there is a formation of NADH plus H plus, right? But under anaerobic conditions, this NADH will not participate in electron transport chain and it is not oxidized to NAD plus. But in order to proceed with the glycolysis, this NADH must be oxidized to NAD plus. And that is achieved by the conversion of pyruvate to lactate by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. That is the reason I told you that under aerobic conditions pyruvate is the end product formed, whereas under anaerobic conditions lactate is the end product formed after the breakdown of glucose. Coming to the regulation of glycolysis, here you have to first observe the reversible reactions and the irreversible reactions. If you observe the pathway carefully, here we can see 3 irreversible reactions. That is, see, observe here, glucose which is converted to glucose 6-phosphate by the action of enzyme hexokinase is an irreversible reaction. So it is one of the regulatory step of glycolysis. Whereas the other irreversible reaction, that is the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate by the action of the enzyme phosphofructokinase. It is again a second step which is a regulatory step of glycolysis. And the third regulatory step of glycolysis is the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to the pyruvate, which is the last step of glycolysis. It is the third regulatory step of glycolysis. Clear? So it is again a irreversible reaction. So what are the 3 irreversible reactions? The reaction that is catalyzed by the enzyme hexokinase, and the reaction that is catalyzed by the enzyme phosphofructokinase, and the reaction that is catalyzed by the enzyme pyruvate kinase. Coming to the first regulatory step of glycolysis, see here, this is the entry point of glycolysis, right? Here the enzyme hexokinase is feedback inhibited by the product called glucose 6-phosphate. Feedback inhibition means the product itself will inhibit the enzyme. That means here there will be no phosphorylation if this enzyme is inhibited. We need this enzyme to carry out the process, that is the conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. But if this product inhibit the enzyme, if there is no action of this enzyme, there will be no phosphorylation of glucose. That means the glucose is no longer converted to glucose 6-phosphate. Why do we need to regulate the pathway? If we have a sufficient amount of energy, again it is of no use to break down the glucose and to get more energy, right? So if we can control the pathway, if we can regulate the pathway, if we can stop the pathway, we can save the energy, right? And again we can go for this pathway if we are in need of energy, right? So in order to stop the process, in order to stop the synthesis of ATP, we need to regulate this pathway. As a part of regulation here, it is one of an irreversible reaction where this enzyme is inhibited by the product, that is glucose 6-phosphate, and that inhibition we call it as a feedback inhibition. Coming to the second regulatory step, that is the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate by the action of the enzyme phosphofructokinase. So here this enzyme is inhibited. When this enzyme is inhibited, it can no longer convert fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. And this phosphofructokinase enzyme is inhibited by high energy, and it can also be inhibited by a compound called citrate. This citrate is an intermediate of TCA cycle. TCA stands for tricarboxylic acid cycle. I'll make a video on that also. But just remember that here this enzyme phosphofructokinase is also inhibited by high concentration of the TCA cycle intermediate, that is citrate. When there is a high concentration of citrate, that indicates that there is a plentiful supply of intermediates for the production of energy. So there is no need of glycolysis again, and it will be regulated. Coming to the third regulatory step. So here the enzyme that is responsible for the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate is inhibited by ATP. Same as that of phosphofructokinase. Here also pyruvate kinase is inhibited by ATP. So when this enzyme is inhibited, there will be no formation of pyruvate from phosphoenol pyruvate. So these are the three important regulatory steps of this glycolysis pathway. If there is no need of energy, if there is already a sufficient amount of energy, then there is no need of this glycolysis pathway. So there is a need to regulate this pathway. This is all about the process of glycolysis and about the regulation of glycolysis. Hope it is clear to you. Soon I'll come up with my next video. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.